Hey, y'all, Scott here. Ever wanted to help support the show and own silver at the same time? Well, a friend of mine, libertarian activist Arlo Pignati, has invented the alternative currency with the most promise of them all. QR silver commodity discs. The first ever QR code 1-ounce silver pieces. Just scan the back of one with your phone and get the instant spot price. They're perfect for saving or spending at the market. And anyone who donates $100 or more to the Scott Horton Show at scotthorton.org/donate gets one. That's scotthorton.org/donate. And if you'd like to learn and order more, send them a message at commoditydiscs.com or check them out on Facebook at /commoditydiscs. And thanks.
All right, you guys, welcome back. I'm Scott Horton. This is my show, The Scott Horton Show. And our next guest is our good friend Gareth Porter, independent historian and journalist, writes for Interpress Service mostly, ipsnews.net. Also for truthout.org. He won the Martha Gellhorn Award for his work on McChrystal and Petraeus murdering people based on their cell phone data in the days long before Ed Snowden. Over there for truthout.org. And he's the author of the book Manufactured Crisis, a real history of the Iranian nuclear program. Welcome back to the show. How are you doing, Gareth?
I'm doing fine. Thanks, Scott. Glad to be back again.
Good. Very happy to have you back on the show here.
Let me the opportunity, if I may, to just let your listeners know that the book is now available as an ebook.
Oh, great.
And this is for the first time, so I know a lot of people will be interested in that.
Yeah, that's great. And right there on Amazon.com, right?
Yeah, or directly from justworldbooks.com.
Okay, great. And you know what I'm going to do is, I don't know why I didn't think of this before, but I'm going to go ahead and put your book in the right margin on my site because I want everybody to read that damn thing.
Ah, terrific. Thanks.
So, it's really good because and this is how you do in all your journalism. You make sure everything is absolutely air and watertight. You confront every last assertion that a dissonant opinion against your work might bring up that you could possibly think of. You cover every single base. You make sure you're right. And you do damn good work. And so on the Iranian nuclear issue, you're talking about 30 years worth of accusations, and you just take them down, blam by blam by blam. And so it's great work, very important work, and especially right now, especially the fact that it came out this spring, this summer, as we're in the meantime between the interim deal and the final deal that maybe should be worked out by this semi-hard deadline of July 20th on whether the P5+1, the UN Security Council, mostly the U.S., can come to terms with Iran and their nuclear program. And your new piece is called Khamenei Remarks, show both sides maneuver on enrichment. Which remarks are those, Gareth?
Well, this is a speech that Khamenei, Supreme Leader of Iran, made a week ago today, on Monday of last week, in which he actually revealed remarkable details about the nuclear talks. I think this was quite a surprise to a lot of people. And, I thought it gave us some very interesting insights into what was happening in the talks. I thought that when he said, essentially, I'm not quoting it word for word, but saying that the United States aim is to get us to accept 10,000 separative work units, SWUs. That was a bid, in effect, to initiate a new stage of negotiations with the United States, suggesting, I think, that Iran would be willing to go along with the 10,000 SWU. And of course, he was saying that the United States, as I understood it, I think this is correct, the United States wanted to establish that as effectively the final level and not agree to any higher level later on by Iran in terms of enrichment capabilities. So, he was saying, as I understood it, that we could make a deal if we freeze the level of enrichment capabilities, the SWUs, at 10,000, which would coincide with the operational centrifuges that Iran has had for the last few years. and not the ones that they haven't used. That they would be dismantled and whatever they're going to do with them. But it would freeze the level at 10,000 SWU, and then from the Iranian perspective, it looked to me like he was suggesting, well, we don't need more centrifuges now. We don't need them for the next few years. He said up to 5 years. He didn't say anything beyond that. So he seemed to be suggesting that there was a deal to be made here if they put off the decision on a higher level for a few more years. And he wasn't clear. He said 190,000 was what they needed, but he said our folks say that we need that much. But that is twice as much as independent experts estimate would really be required to support Bushehr. So that looked to me like it was a bid to make a more extreme demand in the hope that it could be dropped later on if the United States agreed to a more moderate demand.
Mm-hmm. Well, which is kind of a mirror image of the American negotiation too, which is demanded as few as how many, you say?
Well, yeah, what he was saying, I'm sorry, I didn't add the other key detail, which he revealed, which is that the United States was in fact demanding as little as 500 to 1,000 in its earlier draft. Now, he didn't say that was the current position, because I think by that time the United States would say, okay, we'll drop that if you'll agree to our terms for the final level, that is the long-term level. So he was revealing something that hadn't been revealed previously, which was what was in the U.S. draft. In effect, he was revealing this in the U.S. draft in the June round of negotiations. And the 500, of course, was the figure that this is reportedly what the French government was insisting on putting into the draft, and that was included in brackets along with another demand, apparently for 1,000.
Mm-hmm. And you're saying the experts are saying they'd need 95,000, not 190,000, eventually in the long term.
Is what the Princeton group of scholars under Frank von Hippel have estimated would be the SWUs required for providing fuel to the Bushehr reactor.
Well, that sounds like a hell of a lot in their cascade. That's just for Bushehr and not for future planned reactors or anything like that?
That's not for future planned reactors. That's just for Bushehr. I mean, in other words, Natanz is really built for 50,000 IR1 centrifuges. So it was not going to be able to provide enough fuel, even if everything was agreed to that 50,000 could be used there. That would still not be enough. But then, if you, of course, begin to introduce, the more efficient, more modern centrifuges, which is clearly what Iran intends to do, that could all be done at Natanz very easily.
All right, and now am I right that you reported in your last piece, your interview with the foreign minister, or I don't know if it was your last piece. One before that, maybe. Your interview with the foreign minister, it seems like kind of two different tracks of negotiation. The number of centrifuges, but also how long they hold on to the gas before they convert it. And then so they got to tweak kind of both of those knobs at the same time as they're talking this out. Is that right?
Well, absolutely. I mean, the Iranian proposal, which you're referring to, which was revealed to me by Javad Zarif, the foreign minister of Iran, in early June, is basically the same sort of proposal that was made in March of 2005. We've talked about it on your show before, and it's a key, really a key position that Iran is taking here to reassure the P5+1, because what it would do is to promise that any batch of low enriched uranium would immediately be converted into oxide powder, and then the oxide powder would go at this point, to Russia to be converted into fuel plates.
All right. I'm sorry. I got to interrupt you, Gareth. We got to take this break. When we get back, more about that proposal and the ongoing negotiations over Iran's nuclear program with the great Gareth Porter. IPSnews.net. You hate government? One of them libertarian types? Or maybe you just can't stand the president, gun grabbers, or warmongers. Me too. That's why I invented LibertyStickers.com. Well, Rick owns it now, and I didn't make up all of them, but still, if you're driving around and want to tell everyone else how wrong their politics are, there's only one place to go. LibertyStickers.com has got your bumper covered. Left, right, libertarian, empire, police, state, founders quote, central banking. Yes, bumper stickers about central banking. Lots of them. And, well, everything that matters. LibertyStickers.com. Everyone else's stickers suck. All right, you guys, welcome back to the show. I'm Scott Horton. This is my show, The Scott Horton Show. I'm talking with the great Gareth Porter, author of the book Manufactured Crisis, The Truth Behind the Iran Nuclear Scare, which is all it is. As we talked about, the American negotiating position here is, well, we'd like for you to have as few as 1,000 centrifuges, which is still pretty good. They're outright saying go ahead and keep some centrifuges, which is new for the American position over the years. And the Iranians are saying, well, we'd like to have 190,000 centrifuges. Over time, eventually, we would like to have that many. And so here are our opposite negotiating positions on the both sides working on the so-called breakout capability, the extent of Iran's nuclear capability to make a bomb ever one day if they wanted, kind of thing. And but then another thing that the Iranians have brought in here for debate is what they would do with their uranium stock once it's enriched. Maybe they would just go ahead and oxidize it, as the foreign minister explained to Gareth, as we talked about in our last interview. And then that way, it wouldn't really even be up for debate whether it's, verified and under the eyeballs of the IAEA, because they still wouldn't be able to continue to enrich it to any higher grade, up to weapons grade, as it is. So that was where we left off, was the debate over how willing Iran is to trade numbers of centrifuges for oxidized uranium. Gareth, go ahead.
Right. I just want to make the point that it's not just it's not just turning it into oxide powder, but the oxide powder then would be shipped to Russia under the current contract that Iran has with the Russian government to turn the oxide powder then into fuel plates for the Bushehr reactor, and the point that the Iranians are making here is that there would be no creation of a stockpile from the enrichment that would be continued under the Iranian proposal. Now, the point I want to make about this that is completely absent from news media coverage of the negotiations is that the Obama administration has known from the very beginning of these serious negotiations from last October on that Iran was prepared to provide assurances that would allow the U.S. government to say that the so-called breakout timeline has been extended from the current, let's say, 3 months to 6 to 12 months, and in fact, well beyond that, to several years. Because this should be understood in the context of the fact that if you draw down the existing stockpile of 3.5 to 5% enriched uranium, as the Iranians clearly are willing to do, then you're going to have no stockpile for years and years because there will be no buildup, because this is a constant process of conversion to oxide powder and then to fuel plates. And so the Obama administration, as I say, has known that they didn't need to demand the reduction in centrifuges to a few thousand, let alone 1,000, in order to have that extension or increase of the breakout timeline that they've put forward as the rationale for the U.S. negotiating position, in order to know that they will have years and years of breakout timeline. And that's a very stunning fact to me that is excluded from the public discourse in this country.
Mm. Well, and I don't know. Maybe don't tell them. I wouldn't want the Congress and the neocons getting a hold of this. They might figure out an argument around it. I don't know. It sounds like it could be the basis for the deal. I don't really
I don't
mean
think you
nothing
have
for
to worry that
secrecy.
they're going to absorb this. I don't think there's any danger of that.
Yeah. All right. Well, so now answer me about expanded searches and question answers and all. I guess all the questions are answered from all the former bogus investigations, or virtually all of them. But are we talking about additional protocol or Iran's own personal additional protocol under another name, or
I mean, as part of this agreement?
Yeah.
Yes.
Will there be? Is that going to be part of this agreement?
Absolutely. The Iranians have made it very clear that they are prepared to accept the additional protocol and indeed to go beyond it. I think that there are going to be some. They would want, I believe, some clarification of this, so that it's not just whimsical. That there should be, that any additional surveillance operations that go beyond the additional protocol would be based on some reasonable evidence that there's a reason for the search. But otherwise, the Iranians have definitely accepted a very, very intrusive a system of surveillance compared with the the situation without the additional protocol.
All right, and now, look, all the details. You're the master of the details, but the real point is here. So we can't have a deal, right? Since there's nothing left to fight about, can we have a damn deal?
The problem I think you've laid out yourself in this very discussion, which is that the two sides are coming from very, very different sets of assumptions about the whole enrichment question. I mean, you just pointed out that the United States has now, for the first time, actually said, yes, you can have some enrichment. But what they have made clear, abundantly clear over and over again in recent months, is that they will not agree to any industrial scale enrichment capability by Iran, regardless of anything else that Iran might agree to. And that is a serious stumbling block to any agreement. What I have suggested in the last couple of pieces that I've done is that the United States could very easily simply agree to what the Princeton group under Professor von Hippel have proposed, which is that there be a provision in the agreement that would freeze, well, this is in addition to freezing the level roughly at its present level of enrichment capability, 10,000 SWUs, and put in a provision that would put off the decision on how much Iran could have in the long run for a number of years, for 6 to 8 years, for example. And during that period, Iran would show that it has no intention of trying to build up a stockpile that could be used for a breakout, and show good faith in that regard. And indeed, during that period, there's no question that the United States and Iran would be talking about a number of issues where they have clearly congruent interests, particularly on the issue of jihadist forces in the Middle East region. So it would make perfect sense to put off that decision for several years and then come back to it and say, okay, Iran, tell us why you think you need to have an industrial scale, a capability for enrichment, and then we'll evaluate that. And by that time, I think the political context would look very different. And so I think that the resistance on the American side would certainly be reduced to having industrial scale capability to enrich uranium to support Bushehr. And it's very possible that on the Iranian side, their resistance to an alternative to having 100,000 or more SWU of enrichment capability would also begin to be reduced, that they would be willing to look at other alternatives to provide the fuel necessary for Boucher. So, I mean, this is such a logical conclusion that I think that the United States ought to grab that immediately. That's why I think they could come to an agreement even before the 20th. But
in other words, Gareth, what you're saying is come to basically another stage of an interim agreement, put off all the most difficult choices until we really get to those bridges and have to cross them. But in the meantime, the ice is broken. The sanctions are beginning to be lifted, and we can be more like frenemies than enemies.
Absolutely, yes. A gradual reduction in the in the sanctions. It would be a phased reduction over the period of years. And at the same time, the Iranians would be demonstrating that there is no intent to prepare themselves for breakout.
Gotcha. All right. You heard it, everybody. That's the great Gareth Porter. Thank you so much for your time, Gareth.
Thanks for having me again, Scott.
Appreciate it. Gareth Porter, he's at ipsnews.net. Khomeini remarks show both sides maneuver on enrichment. Thanks for listening, y'all. See you tomorrow. Hey, y'all. Scott Horton here. It's always safe to say that one should keep at least some of your savings in precious metals as a hedge against inflation. And if this economy ever does heat back up and the banks start expanding credit, rising prices could make metals a very profitable bet. Since 1977, Robertson Roberts Brokerage Inc. has been helping people buy and sell gold, silver, platinum, and palladium, and they do it well. They're fast, reliable, and trusted for more than 35 years. And they take Bitcoin. Call Robertson Roberts at 1-800-874-9760 or stop by rrbi.co. Hey, y'all, Scott Horton here for The Future of Freedom, the monthly journal of the Future of Freedom Foundation. Edited by libertarian purist Sheldon Richman, The Future of Freedom brings you the best of our movement, featuring articles by Richman, Jacob Hornberger, James Bovard, and many more. The Future of Freedom stands for peace and liberty and against our criminal world empire and Leviathan state. Subscribe today. It's just $25 per year for the back pocket size print edition, $15 per year to read it online. That's The Future of Freedom at fff.org/subscribe. Peace and freedom. Thank you. Hey, all Scott here. If you're like me, you need coffee. Lots of it. And you probably prefer it tastes good, too. Well, let me tell you about Darren's Coffee Company at darrenscoffee.com. Darren Marion is a natural entrepreneur who decided to leave his corporate job and strike out on his own, making great coffee. And Darren's Coffee is now delivering right to your door. Darren gets his beans direct from farmers around the world. All specialty, premium grade with no filler. Hey, the man just wants everyone to have a chance to taste this great coffee. Darren's Coffee. Order now at darrenscoffee.com. Use promo code SCOTT and save $2. darrenscoffee.com. Oh, John Kerry's Mideast peace talks have gone nowhere. Hey, all, Scott Horton here for the Council for the National Interest at councilforthenationalinterest.org. U.S. military and financial support for Israel's permanent occupations of the West Bank and Gaza Strip is immoral, and it threatens national security by helping generate terrorist attacks against our country. And face it, it's bad for Israel, too. Without our unlimited support, they would have much more incentive to reach a lasting peace with their neighbors. It's past time for us to make our government stop making matters worse. Help support CNI at councilforthenationalinterest.org.